from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Welcome, everybody, to Full Spectrum Universe. We are the Embattled broadcast from behind enemy lines in the once great state of New York. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Rob Yox. We have an incredible show for you this evening. We're going to be talking about purging the Archons. For some reason, I was not able to get my slides into the actual show itself. So we're going to share screen so we could look at the slides while we do this. It is truly going to be amazing, amazing, amazing. We have so much to talk about. Now, just a preface before we start. The Archons are not something that we truly, truly want to really, sort of lend our energy to in that sense, right? We know how bad they are. Thank you, Selena, for that super chat. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So appreciated. Goes towards building this platform and to bring you so much information. But really, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Archons. We're not going to lend them our energy, but we have to discuss what they are, how we basically call out their deceptions, and their main motives and MOs while trying to deceive people. Why? Because when we start to understand the way that they work, they no longer have gain or sway within this universe. Now, our frequencies are one thing. Keeping our frequency high vibratory is absolutely essential, right? Is absolutely essential. But when we shine the light onto these deceptions, we are literally disseminating those deceptions for others as well, right? So we know right now that this year is the year of accountability. And if you've been watching the government and politics lately, you'll know that it's very difficult to look at them and say, well, they're holding everybody accountable. Yet there is accountability. We're seeing it play out in small little segments right now, right? So we have to hold ourselves accountable as well. And the reason why we're going into this is so we can hold ourselves accountable. That's why we're talking about these things. Now, purging the Archons and knowing how they infiltrate and maneuver is all about keeping us safe. I'm sure everybody's seen those videos where at certain concerts, there's this big black entity, essentially it looks like a shadow, and it's just it's swaying over the crowd, and then all of a sudden it's boom, it's gone. Usually what that means is that it's entered somebody, and it's using one of the NPCs to carry out whatever mission it was given. So we're going to go into this. I'm going to try and share the screen, which means I won't be able to see the chat. So bear with me, because for some reason, I'm not sure why it's not letting me do this, but it's not even showing up. So I have it in the background, ready to rock and roll. So let's share the screen real quick. I know it takes time. I apologize, but there we are. So now I'm not sure that I can see anything else. There we go. So as long as everybody can see that, please let me know in the chat that you can see that. So I am up. Well, you know what? I shared it, but I didn't put it up into the window here. There we go. Now we can see it. It's on preview mode, so everybody can see it, and we can all do this together. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is purging the actual Archons. There's so many activity. There's so many activities. There's so much activity going on in the fields with planetary shocks and things like that, right? Electrical peaks and geomagnetic storms, which, when we remain flexible, gives us the required momentum to catalyze some major transformations that progress us forward. And this is a time of being exposed to proverbial shocks and literal electrical shocks as the universal lightning rod moves us into the next stage of spiritual activation. So, one of the things we talk about is the geomagnetic jerks. And it sounds like I'm, calling somebody a jerk, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is an actual geomagnetic jerk. So in geophysics, a geomagnetic jerk or secular geomagnetic variation impulse is a relatively sudden change in the second derivative of the Earth's magnetic field with respect to time. The current strong geomagnetic storms resulting from recent solar activity have a deep repercussion at the quantum level, which greatly impacts the shift of state of the electromagnetism upon our planet. The increase in the solar wind interacts with the Earth's magnetic field and there's a transfer of accelerated energy that is placed into the magnetosphere. The magnetosphere is an important part of the global planetary brain, and it's the inherent architecture that many complex identities of collective humankind all reside within. Its functions are directly responsible for what humans experience as a collective race identity, along with an individual 3D conscious mind or ego self. So, our bodies may feel like a live wire with electrical stimulation just pulsing and tingling through our nerve endings. Some of these shock waves may come in behaviors that form from perceived betrayals or relationship conflicts to surface previous hidden issues that have yet to be seen. To see something that was hidden when it was always in front of you yet was being perceived differently can be greatly alarming. Yet empowering and wisdom is in recognizing these objects or events or being for what it really is, right? Beings, entities. And when it is newly perceived in this changing electromagnetic terrain, right? So the geomagnetic shifts on the planet are making us look at things much differently. We are also able to sense energetic blueprint structures and geomantic coding, and the codes that direct the energies in certain patterns and frequencies within the field more than ever before. In this way, we can reconcile conflicts, pain, and we can begin to recognize what it is: a program control code or implant, and perceive it accurately with neutrality and non-judgment to clear or to alter that code for beneficial impact. And how much we are willing to know through the non-judgmental is the counterpoint that measures how deep the rabbit hole goes. Following along so far? So the measurement is left to the self determination of what is spiritual, ethical for your core soul being. And as we face the nature of spiritual ethics inherent in the cosmic sovereign law and the universal laws of one, we go deeper into facing its mysteries. The time cycle we have entered on the planet is able to purge the archonic deceptions. This phase of time is also being referred to as the great purging of the lies of omission. In this layer of comprehension, the larger truth is in humanity's extraterrestrial origin, and it is what has been hidden and left unsaid that has done the most spiritual damage, right? So let us keep going. Lies of omission. This is one of the biggest things to talk about. This is one of the archon's greatest deceptions, right? And an implant isn't just again, an implant isn't just an actual implant or electromagnetic or electronic device embedded into the skin. An implant can be as specific mind control node, or basically a program, what we call programs, right? And those programs are essentially what the archons use to create this negative environment and negativity around us, which inherently brings down the collective consciousness, you know, and it can be sudden thoughts. I see Kelly's asking about sudden thoughts. Yes, implants can come as sudden thoughts because the control or the control program, it basically affects the mind. And when it affects the mind, it's bringing in these thoughts that may not have normally been the thoughts or the thought patterns of the person that it's beholden to, right? And yes, these pictures are going to be a little bit darker because they're depictions of archons. So you understand what you're looking at when you see it, right? Let us keep going. A lie of omission is a method of deception and duplicity that uses the technique of simply remaining silent when speaking the truth would significantly alter the other person's capacity to make an informed decision. To better understand how lies of omission are used as a loophole to gain access to control of our planet, let's define what we know to be lying first. And then we're going to talk about more about the lies of omissions. So, as we go here, sorry about this. I know it's a bit much, but lies. Let's talk about uh, simply defining what a lie is, right? To make a statement that one knows to be false, especially with the intention to deceive or to give a false impression. Any circumstance that gives or is meant to give false impressions. A different de- deception technique that involves lying is something that we call misinformation. Now, a lot of people are going to look at that and say, well, we hear that a lot. And there's a lot of things that go along with misinformation, right? We saw a lot of this over the last few years. So, this is to invent or perpetrate a false story with the intent to deceive or mislead, right? So, that's one of the ways they do this. There's another one. It's to confuse you. To confuse you is one of the more common deployed tactics, right? This is to employ tactics to divert attention from the real issue, to argue and confuse the issue, or deliberately use ambiguity or doublespeak in order to deceive or mislead, right? So the last and final tactic that is used to perpetrate a lie is to derail, right? I can't believe you just offended the principles I'm pretending to have. This is a derailment, right? We're going to go into a little bit more of a description of it, but to change the subject of discussion or inquiry in order to avoid the truth. For example, one might pretend to be offended in order to stop a conversation about one's questionable actions. Makes sense now why we're seeing that? So, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate the super sticker. That's amazing. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Selena, before for the super sticker. It truly means a lot. And, you know, uh, all of that proceeds go back into making to finishing the website and working on some other things that we found in that we can use to create more PDFs and charts and things like that. So we're going to be making a lot of home runs in the next couple months with what we're doing here. We're also going to be putting that towards creating the next class or course, which we can use to essentially bring a ton of this information out into the public. We really, really need to do that. This is what it is. So let us keep going. So we're talking about, again, a lie of omission. This is the most insidious and most pervasive and most common lie that is perpetrated on the entire planet. Commonly, those who use this type of lie have tricked themselves into believing that to intentionally remain silent when the ethical behavior calls for one to speak up is basically not a lie at all, right? That's what they believe. So, in spite of the overwhelming evidence that their silence deceives, misleads, and often causes untold grief and misery, they refuse to speak the truth. The biggest lie people tell themselves about lies is that a lie of omission is not a lie at all. This human frailty is 100% responsible for the negative alien agenda and its archonic deceptions thriving on this planet. The antidote to lies of omission is to speak the truth to people around you in the best way you are able to, especially if you are aware of the larger impacts of their health, safety, and future. This is what we do. This is the each one teach one motto. We essentially give out as much information as we possibly can. Why? Because even telling the truth when the truth is the hardest thing to tell is the way we perpetrate love towards one another. And that's how we're using it, right? So when we stop lying to ourselves and are willing to look at the truth on the planet Earth, on planet Earth, we open ourselves to receiving the knowledge from our direct experience, right? Knowledge protects us from being continually victimized by lies of omission, whereby prompting you to ask the right questions when necessary. So let's talk about how we detect the archons, right? The archons being detected is one of the biggest things. We all know that the archons came from the void. The archons are entities that come from the void and are literally hired or put into place into spiritual matrices to diminish the higher vibrational frequencies of the collective, right? They feed off of that. So the mother's wisdom's aspect is Sophia. What does that mean? What does that mean? So, this is a time of great spiritual advancement and potential at an individual level, where any area of deception that included covert and hidden agendas can finally be seen, questioned, and thus purged. Within the energetic balance returning through the crystal host, the mother god principle of Sophia also may return to earth. Through her divine spark, we have the ability to know and to integrate her ancient feminine wisdom. Once we see what is hidden from us all along, and we will feel free, we will feel pain in that knowledge when we recognize the great deception. However, we also gain Sophia's valuable wisdom. The wisdom of Sophia is what gives the chalice through which we may drink from the fountain of eternal life. If we stay awake through the pain as we pass through the dark deception, we are greatly rewarded with accurate perceptions of inner truth and spiritual light. It is alignment with our inner truth, spirit intelligence, which increases our skill level with personal discernment and accurate assessment of the worlds. From proper alignment, we live in a state of inner peace and spiritual ethics that are reverent to life. Mother's reverence for life is a ray of pure love that feeds and grows our heart, soul, and being in every way. As our heart and soul is nourished and expanded in Mother's love, the aspect of her wisdom, Sophia, is finally freed from the underworlds and reborn into matter. Our path of restoring the feminine principle included oh God, I can't speak it tonight. The necessity of reclaiming Sophia's pieces from the underworld, giving birth to her wisdom in the physical world through the female body. So the females have a leg up on this, right? Because they already have that body, right? So what we're as men, what we're trying to do is we're trying to embody the balance or the alignment of what that means, right? Also, don't forget, after this show tonight, Omar is on, I believe it's day 3 or 4 of NDE week, and he's had some incredible guests up to this point. So it's definitely a don't miss. on Omar's Watchers Talk. It's going to be an absolute barn burner tonight and every other night for the rest of the week. Promise you. I promise you. I promise you. I know we're doing it a little bit backwards this time because of, the issue with the without being, I don't know why it's not able to see the slides where I can bring them into the maybe it's because of the types of slides that I used. I tried to use a 3D slide that might be a little bit more presentable this time. So, we're going to talk about something called clearing parasites. Now, when we talk about clearing parasites, we're not talking about, you know, the medical field or anything like that. We're talking about energetic parasites. So, the budding reverence of ourself and others puts us on a path of growing our consciousness in the power of love in order to build the strength required to become an embodied Christos or balanced superhuman. We must build the house of God for Christos within our bodies through loving acts of purification, detoxification, purging, extraction, removal, and clearings. And this course that we're about to lay down at the end of this month is all of those things, which is why we're doing it. We're going to use things like sound healing. We're going to use meal planning. We're going to go through the gambit of literally purging the body of things that are no longer required of old earth, energetically, spiritually, physically, and mentally. We're going to purge it all, right? So we're reclaiming the body of Christ. And this isn't Christ in the way that we talk about in the Catholic Church. This is the body of the Christos blueprint. And thus, we're called at this time to purge and clearing our bodies of those parasites. And we can make great impacts in the clearing physical and energetic parasites that feed off of our body and our consciousness, right? Those energies. So the archons are those parasites. They are a type of parasitic entity that essentially attacks our consciousness, our physical and energetic body. And it's at this time we're being called upon to recognize, question, and then purge that which is false, ignorant, or inorganic, diseased, machined, cloned, implanted, or alien. All of these are forms of parasitism, right? Or parasitism. So we have met the time of the great purging. We talked about this. I've talked about the great purging. And we will find ourselves put to the task to explore what this means and how we must participate. This purging begins at individual levels and expands outwards into the collective when we start to purge the energy grids or the gridding and the ley lines that reside around us, which is why I'm putting together information for those of you who asked about the ley lines near you. So you can do your part in purging them of artificial AI architecture or dark entity architecture, and we can reclaim it. We can reclaim it for the purpose that it was meant to be used in. So I just keep checking the chat to make sure that nobody has any questions about any things. And I'm not sure that the archons are infected or archons infected the Anunnaki. They might have, but the archons were here long before the Anunnaki were even created. The archons have been around for a very, very long time, right? We only see them as some archons, but that's what it is on this planet. So next, we have the next slide, and I know it's taking me a minute to gather the slides here, but Sophia reveals the archon or parasite, right? And here's another depiction of archons. So, as the mother feminine aspect of wisdom, Sophia returns to reclaim the earth's brain and logos It is she who merges with the masculine active principle of power in order to accurately envision what has become of the earth. It is Sophia's return into matter through the mother arc that sees the truth of the recorded hidden histories and the abusive technologies located in the planetary solar, galactic, and universal logos. These are not written books of record or false god holograms that are being perceived as history. This is the cognition of the direct energetic signatures that have impacted creation and for what it's manifested today in the now time. So the masculine alone cannot see or read these layers, as he requires Sophia's wisdom to directly view them. This is why the Archons inherently hate Sophia, as she can perceive what they cannot. And as it is activated the superpower that she will defeat them as well. And that means you will defeat them when you activate the Sophia's wisdoms, right? So, for refusing them access to her wisdom, consciousness, they are blinded by fury and thus has been debased into a prostitute, tortured, or banished into the underworlds for replications, right? That replication is made in artificial archonic code, which harnesses female reproductive organs' vital energies for breeding, and which are inherently in sexual alchemy and matter manifestation, or the prostitution of the sacred feminine code, right? Her ovaries or ovum are harnessed with bipolar geometries and reversal arc codes or fleur de lis that are designed to continue to reproduce enslaved humans for fractured collective souls. So, the more planetary soul splitting, gender splitting, and parasitism that happens in the astral planes, the more birthing rates increase population on Earth's surface. And we can observe the result of that torture made upon the direct oppression of women and children, as well as the parasitism of the entire earthly creation. The rape of Sophia, or divine feminine, condemned her to the underworld in vain and attempts to replicate her principle artificially. And again, this is through forced breeding, prostitution, things like that. What she naturally embodies. This is the shadow side created by the Archons and the programs of the Orion's group, patriarchal domination, to control the feminine and to control the sexuality and the birthing rates of the reincarnated soul population on their controller agenda. Thus, the archons and their controller codes have been living in the shadows of deception and parasiting off humanity and the planet for millennia, right? So, what are we talking about? We're talking about a spiritual conflict. This is the when we say this is a spiritual war, this is what we're talking about. This is the battlefield. This is the front line, right? This is on a base energetic level. This is the front line. Now, this front line fractures off into other sections, which we could talk about at a later date. But this is the simplified version of what this spiritual war is. And now, by you knowing it, we can shine the light on these battlefields or these front lines and dissipate them completely. This is why we're talking about this. This is why, it's not my intention to bring archons to the forefront of the conversation, but they talk about in the art of war, know thy enemy. And when you know thy enemy, you will win. You will win. So let us understand what we're fighting against. So as we keep going, now we're going to talk about the conflict in spiritual advancement. This is natural law versus man's law. And there is a big, big difference. Again, in a half hour, go to Watchers Talk and support Omar and Watchers Talk with the amazing content that they're putting out this week. It truly is exceptional. So, it is the merge of Mother's feminine wisdom on earth that reveals the time of the great purge of archonic deception. The revelation of this knowledge overcomes the false kings of tyranny or the archontic program codes and its lies of omission from continuing to enslave the Earth's population through the temporary state of matter. The mother god aspect of wisdom and Sophia is embodied uh, that inherent truth within the natural laws, which cannot be replicated or falsified within matter, as it exists with the eternal state. The planet and its peoples cannot go against Mother Nature, the natural laws forever without correction or annihilation in this timeline. This is the inner conflict which humanity faces now, choosing where we place our valuable life force on the temporary nature of instant gratification or the eternal nature of our spiritual truth. Each one of us has a choice in how we take what we know in the now and apply it for its greatest spiritual advancement of our person. As we advance spiritually, a natural byproduct is spiritual ethics, and that's amplified in our heart's desire to help spiritually advance and free all of the planet and humanity. So the archon is defined as the false king tyrant ruler that controls through masks of deception promoted through the warring technological abuse, such as mind control, frequency implants, and military strategies. And that can be applied to human or non human alien sources, right? It is both the military human and the non human shared greed for domination in which they both employed hidden advanced frequency technologies designed to perpetrate and promote the archonic deceptions or the archonic deception. So, what are we doing this all for? Or what do we do in this moment? And I'm going to tell you what we do, or what I think we should do. And that is put it all forward, all of it. Always speak your truth with love. Always, always. This is the I can't tell you one of the most important slides in this presentation. Put it all forward. This is truly what separates us from those lower energy NPCs. This is the reconciliation of what we know to pass to others. So let's keep going. So when we speak our truth and reveal these experiences for public witnessing, the covert actions of hidden manipulating agendas of the archons have a much harder time manifesting within the physical reality. This is why it is always best to be honest, transparent, even under hard circumstances. We deal with it in the 3D people around us. And if we express what we know and say it, we are refusing to allow any part of our energies to be ambiguous and therefore manipulated to create a false impression by a dark entity's motivations. The hard truth we learn on this planet is that the lies of omission, the archonic secrecy is maintained through manipulating those lies of omission and creating facades that mislead the public. This is further enforced through intimidation and threats or military tactic is used to hide unethical use of mind control or biowarfare technology on the public, both human engineered and alien. Further, through military smokescreens of protecting freedoms, the draconian infected military complexes uses uninformed humans as guinea pigs for their chemical, technological, war, and genetic experiments. We're seeing this play out over the last few years, right? And this is what I mean by their lies of omission. When we're talking about the histories of who we are as a people or as a species, we have to dig for that information. It's not readily available for us, right? Which in turn leads us back to a phrase that I say all the time. A man or a woman who doesn't know where they come from is a man or woman lost. That is one of the great deceptions, is not being told our true history. Therefore, all actions from that point forward are null and void. They are not based upon the truth. And until we wake up to those facts, we don't we think we're in the truth, but we're not. We're not. So it gets crazy. It gets really crazy to think about that. Our existence has been shrouded or shadowed by false paradigms and pretenses. And for us to be waking up to our true potential and our true ability, that's our inner standing, is to figure out who we are. So those deceptions can no longer hold sway over our day to day lives or the individual, right? So let us keep going. So in recent history, this is how the negative entities perpetrates some of its major crimes against humanity. They infiltrate the military industrial complex and slap national security clearance on top of its secrecy programs. And there is no accountability to any of those secret black operation projects in which commanding officers, most commonly a sociopath super soldier, is allowed to run amok, and how many brutal killers, rapists are harbored within the military. It is a loophole to get away with manipulating the masses out of their consent with free will through the unseen mind control technology abuse and experimentation. Additionally, it is extremely important to emphasize that when we accept the accurate truth that this planet has been invaded by a force of entities that believes it's a superior race and uses the military and technological mind control to enslave its inhabitants on Earth to live in terror and fear, we can recognize its tactics, motivations, and agenda easily. And in recognizing that agenda, we have already revealed its weakness, which is why they hide and use covert action to maintain those deceptions. And once we can see these tactics and understand what they are doing, they're incredibly vulnerable. So, in greater comprehension of their agenda and motivation to enslave others, we gather more strength and are able to overcome their methods because we understand them, right? So, let's talk about the mother purging alien archon fragments. This is an exceptional portion of what we're talking about. Now, this picture was drawn by somebody, and you can see that there's symbolism in it, right? And the symbolism is essentially chaos. And it goes from chaos into these geometric shapes. And those geometric shapes have been sort of misconstrued for negative purposes. But by looking at this, we can take them back and understand more, right? So the cosmic mother is reintegrating anti-particles from the phantom matrix levels, dead energy spaces, and there's a fallout of tremendous amount of alien memory and implant fragmentation that is stemming from the enslavement programming and from the false father gods or the alien archon hierarchies. These collective fields have pieces, holographic bits, and lots of debris from alien farmed memory programs used by these false father gods or alien archons to implant humanity mentally, physically, and within the soul bodies. These are frequency alterations or alternations. that are implanted in the aura to control or harness parts of our spiritual bodies and their functions. So during this phase, it will be extremely helpful to communicate directly with your God self avatar self and direct it to scan your body for inorganic machinery and alien implants. We must break all bonds, cores, clones, copies, and attachments to these levels of being, clearing the parasites, and only connect directly to our God spirit. So there's many methods that we can use to locate, remove, and repair alien machinery, alien programs, and alien memories, and all the inorganic garbage that has been placed as an intermediary between a human being here in the 3D and these higher realm archon thugs, right? This is to purge this alien coding out of our multidimensional bodies, mind, spirit, soul, and consciousness so that the direct connection to the original one spirit can be reconnected. Unification with the cosmic mother in all of her forms is explicitly helpful with the removal of these inorganic alien structures, devices, implants, and genetic engineered entities, right? So reclaiming mother or cosmic mother is reclaiming her creation, and through her these structures disintegrate. And to connect directly to that inner source light, all the intermediary structures and alien machinery program coding need to be cleared from our bodies. And this is completely possible right now. I cannot stress enough. Do not let anything run your mind. Stay aware of the reason you do everything. Stay self-aware and ask yourself, why am I doing this activity? Right? Let me check on the chat real quick. So, this is what I talked about when I talked about the different years, right? 2022 was the year of the truth seeker. 2023 is the year of accountability. 2024 is the year of reunification, right? Reunification. And that is a spiritual reunification. There's also so many different levels to that statement, which we will go over in 2024. But for right now, that's the timeline. That's the game plan, right? So there is a lot. There's still more to talk about. I'm going to try and get through it before the hour. I have to get off about 5 minutes before the hour so I can give Omar enough time to get on. So we have about 10 minutes, right? So the next step to this is alien implants. What are the alien implants? We're going to talk about it. So this is an alien implant profiles. Implants are used in key areas of the planet to instruct the human nervous system to release life force energies, right? And body parts get to be given to this network for siphoning and controlling over the population. Implants are used to override or run programming within our personal biocomputer. Your biocomputer is your physical body. So implants impact your health, your mental state, your emotional state, your ability to access consciousness, and your sense of self, right? Genetic history plays a part in the type of implant or level of physical and energetic harassment one receives from these networks. Where and when you were born will give you clues to the type of implants related to your genetic history. So, there are different implants, and we're going to go over those different implants very, very quickly. There's identified implants, right? Archonic genetic engineered entities or suppressor parasites are variations of small black shapes with some with attached wiring, chest and heart harness, decahedron mind control harness, disease booby traps, or etheric weaponry like knives and cleavers, right? So there's implant remedies as well. This is what some of the remedies were like. And this is understanding, right? Knowing these structures exist is the most powerful form of terminating their influence over your body, nervous system, and your consciousness. These implants alter the frequency structure of your aura and consciousness through the messaging made on the central nervous system. So, through your consciousness, you can alter the frequencies and remove them from their harmful effects. Do not be afraid of them. Personal 12D shielding, commanding your space and stopping addictive behaviors from controlling you and not allowing yourself to be an automaton or automaton, right? This will stop allowing these parasites into your body. Those of us that are etherical surgeons also, by knowing these exist, will be able to identify the culprits and help to free people from this form of or type of enslavement to addiction and misery. Additionally, we will be called to take them out of the planetary networks when they become available in the timeline. But first, we must identify these specific implants in our human body so that we can take them out of our planetary bodies. And as we unify and come together to share our findings, we become part of the planetary support team to free humanity from this insidious enslavement matrix. And these alien implants and parasites are another way this consciousness enslavement is enforced. So remember to seal your astral body along with wearing your 12D shield. This will give you more relief from the etherical and astral pressure from implantation. That process is using the golden egg to seal your astral layers. Practitioners should practice this astral body seal with their energy session whenever they see fit, right? This is what we talk about. So now we've talked about a lot of this, and there's a little bit more left, but we're not going to really go into it tonight because I don't feel that we're at that point yet. We have a lot more to go over before we get into it. So there may be a part 2 to this, or I may name it something different. But this, I can't stress the importance of this, right? We need to be completely consciously and consciousnessly aware of everything going on around us. Our surroundings and our places, the places that we've been, have been a tell sign of which archonic forces we've interacted with. And also through meditations, which I will be trying to put together, we're going to purge the systems of our higher selves, right? The astral self through specific meditation, specific hand motions and meditation can also instill these frequency upgrades or these frequency jolts that will dismiss and destroy all of these implants. So there's a lot of ways that they get to you. But the more you're aware of what these entities are doing and how they're doing it, the more able you are to protect yourself and those around you, right? So we have to please share this out. This could save lives out there somewhere, right? This information. I don't normally say that. And thank you, Michael, for becoming a member on the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, it's very difficult for people to grasp this, but it really is. It really is sinister on how they affect this planet and how they maneuver people against each other. And I bet you there's a lot of people with implants, which is why society looks like it's at each other's throats all the times, right? So also, after we share this out, please leave a comment underneath this video. Once we finish, leave a comment underneath. The algorithm will boost this program out to other people who may not have normally seen it. And that's doing the work. And that's the Christos mission to help those around you, right? So, with all that being said, I hope that you found this informative. I hope that you received this information with love and abundance, and take it with you and bring it to others. That's our duty. It's our duty to humanity to do that. So, with all that being said, remember, please share this out. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't, right? Subscribe if you haven't. That also helps. And please, everybody, even if it's just some emojis, leave a comment underneath. I hope that everybody got as much out of this as I did while reading it. So, thank you all very much. My name is Rob Yax again. This is Full Spectrum Universe, and we'll see you in the next few days. Have a great evening.